the only change.
Okay. Testing,
I
testing.
know we're home next week, and we're on the road the next two.
Okay.
I don't think that's changed at all.
All right.
welcome to today's game featuring the visiting People's Prep Charter School and the Montclair Kimberly Academy Cougars. The head coach for the visitor is Dominic Dixon, and the head coach for the MKA Cougars is Anthony Rea. Your captain for the Cougars today are Ben Giannis and Brian Bond. Today's referees are Jerome Singleton, John Hughes, Barry Dugan, Bob Keegan, Rich Paisley, and Tim Thompson, with Samuel Williams on the clock. As per the NJSIAA sportsmanship policy, there will be no tolerance for negative statements or actions between opposing players and coaches. This includes taunting, baiting, berating opponents, trash talking, or actions which ridicule or cause embarrassment. Any verbal or physical conduct related to race, gender, ethnicity, disability, sexual orientation, or religion shall not be tolerated and could subject the violator to ejection and may result in penalties being assessed against your team. Our goal is to provide all participants with a safe, competitive, and rewarding athletic experience. We ask that you support your team in a positive manner and display good sportsmanship throughout today's contest. At this time, would everyone please stand and remove your caps for the singing of our national anthem by the MKA Master Singers.
are live from Van Brunt. Dominic Romeo will kick. That's Lassiter. And up to the 30-yard line. Rain is in the forecast this afternoon. Originally a 40% chance last night, but now down to a 15 to 20% chance. Only drizzle. The entire day showers are coming this evening. It has gotten progressively colder and colder as the weeks have gone on. 90 degrees on opening day, down to 62 this afternoon. The Wolfpack of People's Prep looking for their first varsity win. Good starting field position at the 30. Bromley up there to stop Lassiter. It'll be second down and 8. That's what Michael Bromley specializes in. Stopping the run in People's Prep. To no one's surprise, coming out running. And a very muddle huddle as it's second and 8. Deontay Brown, the junior quarterback. His first throw off, incomplete. Bounce at the 45 in front of Dominic Romeo, and the Cougars quick to force third and 8. And with the rain and not as big of a crowd as we had seen last week at Hurl Field in Glen Ridge, both student sections were packed. As many fans as I've ever seen for an away game. The Bloomfield Avenue rivalry, the Cougars pulling it out late. Third and 8. Drop ball on the far side, on near side by Zaire Thompson, fourth down. Quinn Meistrich over there to cover him anyway. And just 50 seconds in, People's Prep, the Wolfpack forced to punt. Felix Doe will punt. Got a weak one off, will not get a favorable roll. Only to the 44-yard line.
MKA Cougars will take over at the 44-yard line.
As of right now, there has not been any rain so far since kickoff, only cloudy. The Cougars likely will not be throwing the ball today, but if they do, this will be the guy doing it. Not as good looking of a photo as we had of him in week 1. 429 passing yards for Ben Giannis, 121 rushing, 5 total touchdowns. Took him 2.5 games almost to throw his first career interception. Walker, the running back, expects a big load. Wilson motions, but Giannis to give it to him. It is Wilson. Got by 1. Turns into a 3-yard gain. Only had Romeo out to block for him, and he can do that very well, but only a 2nd and 7 coming out of it. Giannis last week threw for 195 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. Walker's first carry, stopped by Desmond Henry, the senior defensive lineman, number 51, 3rd and 4. And both teams facing third downs and medium distance to go on their first possessions. Cougars again going muddle huddle, as did the Wolfpack. Right on the blue midfield stripe, 3rd and 5. Giannis with time, off the hands and almost intercepted. Wilson and Romeo both there and nearly picked on the near side by Felden. Number 5 of People's Prep. It'll be 4th down. And we begin with a stalemate in the first 2 minutes. The Wolfpack's punt was not favorable in their direction. Cougars got it at the 44, and now Romeo can pin him back. Go get it! This will do it. He'll run it back at the 16. Wilson down there. He made the hit for 21.
Trey Wilson on the tackle.
Only a 5-yard run back.
With the return for
No
People's
score
Crest.
through one possession at Van Brunt.
Come on, Ryan!
2 minutes and 10 seconds into the first quarter, no score.
Come on, Ryan!
People's Prep and MKA from week 4, the first day of October. At his 21, gonna air it out. Romeo's down there, intercepted.
That's the ball! Heck yeah! Keep letting go, Dominic! There you go!
Romeo back to the 50,
Well done!
and he has his first pick of the year. He is the first cornerback to record an interception. Meistrich has none. Sweetwood has 1. Wilson has 1, but he's a safety, and Carter McNeil has 2. Although you could say Jack O'Connell, but we're talking about varsity players. And so on the 50, their second try, second crack at the first score. To the outside, that's McNeil, only his second catch.
Then Giannis with the completion to
Another one to remember, make that his third catch
Second down, Cougars.
for 2 yards. Now has 17 receiving yards on the year. McNeil, one of those guys who shined in JV last year. Now, a guy we really couldn't wait for to get into varsity, but we had a plethora of receivers last year. Now in a starting role. Second and long, and Walker strung out.
Come on, boy!
Zaire Thompson got him down low.
Brings up a third down.
A shoelace tackle like Mitrovic did last year. If you remember him, it's going to be third down. Cougars 3-0 have won 15 consecutive varsity regular season football games. Giannis has the first down, and Romeo to the outside at the 25-yard line. He's down to the 24.
Then Giannis with the completion to Dominic Romeo gives the Cougars a
Move the
first
sticks
down.
for good for 20 yards as Romeo now has a first down reception. The first down picked up throwing the ball. And now at the 24, new set. Walker blocking, all time for Giannis. There's Wilson hanging on a juggling act there. Had to corral that football in. He has close to a first down.
Cougars pick up 9
The
yards.
speedy sophomore Wilson gains 9. It'll be second down and 1.
Second down, Cougars.
Leading the team by far in receptions and receiving yards. 225 yards on 10 receptions coming in. Now empty it out, second and short. Walker back, he got it. People's Prep defense doing a very good job at getting to the ball quickly
Harrison Walker picks up
and
another
making their
Cougars
tackles.
first
That's
down.
Shaquan Coleman, the senior, number 11. But the Cougars got what they wanted, a first down, and they can get a first down without a touchdown at the 1. Behind that offensive line, which is now reconstructed, they got back all 5 of their starters. That's Wilson. To the outside, touchdown. 11 yards.
How you doing?
Trey Wilson again with the speed to the outside. He was cornered and came back to pick it up. And we knew we'd finally see it. The first score comes on their second drive. And now it's Romeo with Giannis holding a very solid place kicker. His first year taking over all the kicking duties from Fusco. But he missed that one.
PAT, no good.
Something called the commentator's jinx or something, I don't know.
7 minutes and 41 seconds.
I did it against Newark Academy, and I did it here today. 6-0, 7:41 on the first quarter clock. .41 on the first period clock. Jan is handing it off to Wilson for his second rushing touchdown of the season. Romeo was the other knack for doing, bangs it out of the end zone. And so People's Prep Charter School of Newark will begin at its 20-yard line. Cougars defensive line, you see Adam Erbs coming out there instead of Eric Mendelson, number 72. Really had his breakout game at Glen Ridge. The stats might not show it, but in the fourth quarter, it was really the Adam Erbs show instead of the Brian Bond show, which we usually are used to seeing. And a timeout, People's Prep.
People's Prep.
Their first of the half, 7:41 to go in the first quarter. We've got 7:41 to go in a first quarter, which has seen the Cougars jump out to a 6-0 advantage. Cougar defense has not allowed a passing touchdown all season. Shifting to the outside, 30. And out of bounds, untouched, is Flamir Amos.
First down.
Gain of 20, and that's one of the things that the coaches saw on the scout film for People's Prep. They are very speedy and shifty. And no one there covering the near side. Gain of 20. Actually, gain of 23 up to the 43. The quarterback, Brown, again has Amos in a collision on the give. Got it to the outside, a block thrown.
Let's go!
A little bit chippy as Felden got that run. It'll be second down and 7. Of course, in a game like this where the Cougars don't want to really pull many things out of the playbook, just want to keep it simple, run their basic offense and get the win, the last thing you want is for any chippiness, any injuries. A lot of folks banged up against Glen Ridge, and just as a collectively in the first 3 weeks. That's Brown, incomplete. He's making the throws, but having some trouble bringing them in. That's Sean Williams, and it's third down. We mentioned the Brian Bond show. Bond with a sack and a half, 26 tackles, 4.5 tackles for loss last week. Had 15 tackles without a single sack. And the Ridgers threw the ball at least about 32 times. That's Brown, is shot again, incomplete. He had Williams over there. Romeo played the inside towards the middle of the field. And if that ball had been placed right in there, he would have had a first down, but instead People's Prep will punt. Only a very misty rain here. Not as bad as the forecast would have indicated last night. Wilson will not let that one go. He'll get a roll.
After the punt, the
To
Cougars
the
will
33
take
as
over at
People's
the
Prep punts
32
Cougars
with
ball.
6 minutes and 32 seconds remaining in the
Ben Giannis, the senior quarterback, up 6-0. To the left side, Chase got that one away. Gets the game, Giannis. Hitting McNeil. Took the top off the coverage. And from the Roan 32 to the People's Prep 26. Yards, if I math this right, 52. Walker the back got it, slipped away, there were men in the backfield, and Walker is to the 15.
And off to Harrison Walker, picks up another Cougar first down.
Back-to-back first downs, one on the ground and one through the air a moment ago. Cougars started off very sluggishly in their first drive, failed to get anything going after good field position to begin. And at the midway point, close to striking once more. On the 15. That's Walker. Got a lane, one man to beat, and he got him. Down to the 2, the Cougars pick up a third consecutive first down. But it's Walker with a 13-yard pickup. Walker, who only had 10 rushing yards on 6 carries last week. Cougars' running game as a whole was not up to par against Glen Ridge. Giannis back, touchdown.
Touchdown Cougars as Ben Giannis finds Dominic Romeo for 6.
Again, it is Romeo on the receiving end. His 3rd touchdown of 2016 in the Cougars, up 12 zip. Say Romeo's a great kicker, I don't want to jinx him. See if he knocks this second one through. He did, but a whistle before. Oh, do the Cougars want to try a 2-point conversion from the 1?
Encroachment on the Warpath.
It's on People's Prep. Half the Cougar team has walked off the field. And they're going to re-kick, sending everybody back from the near sideline. Cougars in their white jerseys today, as People's Prep only has 1 jersey. That's their dark blue and yellow. So the Cougars forced to wear white. Doesn't appear to have made a difference. That one missed again.
Point after attempt, no good.
This time he shanked it wide right.
Lead with 5 minutes and 3 seconds.
One to the left and one to the right from Romeo on point after. It's 12-0 though. Our game of the week, Cougar football on MKA TV. We are braving the elements because I'm sure many of you don't want to come out in the rain, and I understand that. I don't want to either. That will hit the end zone. For a touchback.
Into the end zone for a touchback as People's Prep will take over at the
2 touchbacks for Romeo. At 5:03 on the first quarter clock. Last week's game, a very defensive struggle. Both defenses played very, very well. And the Cougars only allowing a touchdown and a field goal against Glen Ridge for the second consecutive season. Another deep one. That's good. Shaquan Coleman against Maestrich. And he beats him over the top again, adjusting on that route. 34 yards picked up. It's about time they'd get one of them. Continues to chuck up those long balls, and they got one. And now to the Cougar side. That's Lassiter. First down. Back-to-back first downs now for People's Prep, and they're threatening at the Cougar 31.
Let's go, Brian.
That's 15 more.
Come on, defense. Let's go, B.
Lassiter remains in there with Brown. On the 31, Brown's first keep. Ball's down and Earls. Was he down? That appears to be the signal. The officials rule him down before Ryu Mondesir, starting on defense for the first time, knocked the ball out. Or not the first time starting on defense. On offense, he only has one touch. 69-yard touchdown. One of the 5 Cougar linebackers in the 3-5-3 formation. Pressure from Herbs. Did he get a hand on that? Incomplete. Didn't matter. Ryu Mondesir over there to cover Davion Dorr. And a thing that Herbs was praised for by the coaches was putting the hands up when they passed to his side. He did so there, and the throw was offline. And suddenly 3rd and 11. Line to gain up at the 21. Back-to-back first downs, now back-to-back no gains. Pressure, his throw. Picked off for a second time. It's Romeo. Out over the 15, gonna try to reverse it, and still on his feet, and finally submarine to the 17. Mr. Romeo. 3.5 to go. Giannis and company up 2 scores. People's Prep getting an 11th man on as the Cougars line up. Giannis again with Walker. Off the second Romeo pick. Back again, a quick short one. That's Mondesir for a first down, gain of 13. And Ryu's first reception
For a Cougar, first down.
this season goes for 13 and a first down. Ryu is really the next man up. He is the 5th wide receiver on the depth chart, if there was one. He remains in there as Walker splits out. Another first down, again motioning it back. That's Walker to the outside, a block from Andrews on the right side.
Harrison Walker picks up a couple, bringing up second down.
It'll be second down. Here's the MKA offensive line. Brian Bond on the left side, the stalwart there. Bromley, his first year as a starting offensive lineman. Hermo replacing Mitrovic at center. Mendelson shined last week at right tackle, moved back to right guard, his normal position, and Jordan Andrews is back after taking leave. Off the hands and almost picked. That ball ought to be a bit slippery down there. Of course, we are partially covered by the roof above our heads, but with the drizzling rain, both teams have had trouble holding on to it. McNeil the intended target. Second down and 10. That's Walker. Harrison close to the 40. Not going to move the sticks. He needs that 40 to do so. It'll be third and 1.
Picks up 8 for the Cougars, but it's not enough for the first down. The Cougars take
And substitutions aplenty here. You've got John Hatfield in at wide receiver. Ashwin Law, Keenan McAuliffe. Oh, it's fourth down. My goodness. Their punting formation, the down sticks at 3.
Well done.
Didn't say 4 till they snapped the ball and it looked over. Another solid punt for Romeo at the 18-yard line. 1:32 left in the first.
That's what they have on the website. Get even faster.
Last year, the People's Prep team was at the junior varsity level, played against the Cougars junior varsity, and the Cougars won that game. Now, their first year as a varsity football team and still in search of their first win. Cougars junior varsity team unbeaten. Another big one, but a holding is going to be called.
Wamir Amos picks up 9 yards, but there's a flag on the play.
Amos and Coleman have really been getting loose for People's Prep, but did so with the aid of a holding on the right side.
Let's go, defense!
This is the first real rain game we've ever had. Last year at Fieldson was a bullet dodge. The forecast said rain never came. Lassiter has a 25. A Cougar slipped on the wet turf. That's a first down for Lassiter.
Picks up a first down for the Wolves.
19 yards, again that speed and agility. Coming very handy for the Wolfpack as we hit the final minute of the first.
Come on, team, let's go!
Another flag came down. Looks like a personal foul. Move it back to the 16-yard line. Only a 2nd and 12. 15 yards back from the spot of the football. Lassiter again. Mondes here able to wrap him up.
Lassiter picks up 3 yards.
They're really working those edges. Is Peoples Prep running sweeps and off-tackle runs. Ryu Mondes here with Michael Bromley coming into the pile late. Made the hit, 2nd down and 10. If they run, it could be the final play of the first. Gonna throw it. Has a man there, but on the outside, Romeo makes the hit.
Deontay Brown finds Tajimir Feldon, bring up 3rd down for the Wolfpack.
Feldon's had a few catches here. That's one, and now with the clock down to 7 and 6, they will not spot the ball in time. And the first quarter is over.
And that's the end of the first quarter as the Cougars take a 12-0
These two will switch
lead.
sides. Really hasn't been an offensive slugfest for the Cougars, as some would have predicted. 12-0 through 1. During the intermission, it was announced that the line judge's birthday is today. Gained a brief round of applause from the crowd, which has actually turned out quite well in the student section. We can't really see it that well from our position, but they have come out. And People's Prep begins period 2 with a 3rd and 3. On the inside, there is Bond, and Bromley finishes.
All right.
Brian Bond, first on the scene as the Cougars stop the Wolfpack in the backfield.
And Brian Bond,
Bring up 4th down.
his first showing of this ball game. Made a lot of showings against Glen Ridge. And as this team doesn't really pass the ball too much, just like Newark Academy, likely won't see many sacks, if at all, from Bond. Only has a sack in 1 game out of 3 total played. Sack and a half against Riverdale, a game in which the Cougars defense was on the field pretty much all the time. Doe picked it back up. Wilson bobbled the ball and was nailed as he went down to get it. Didn't want that ball to roll. It would have went at least 10 more yards.
Take over at the 45-yard
So
line.
has to field the wet and wobbly football and nearly paid the price. Cougars will have it at the 45. The man calling the plays, Coach Rhea, has only lost 3 games in his now 3-year career. At least in the regular season. 5 total losses if you count the playoffs. Feeding Walker to the outside and into Wolfpack territory. Took 3 to bring him down. Davion Dorr, the junior, led the way.
First choice, best choice.
Leading the tacklers, that is, and just short of a first down by the length of the chain, and they will stop the clock, it looks like, and get a measurement. They'll actually stop the clock to rule a first down.
That's a Cougar first down.
Gain of exactly 10 to the 45. Wilson again on the move. Empty gun, bubble. Wilson out of the motion. First down. Back-to-back gains of 10 yards. This will go for about 12.
First down.
Back-to-back first downs for the Cougars to open the drive. Not as much offensive success in terms of the amount of failed drives to successful drives compared to games like Riverdale and Newark Academy. Defense pitching a shutout. There's the throw, incomplete.
Wow.
Davion Dorr with one hand knocked it away, and there's an injured
brings up a Cougar second down.
member of the Wolfpack. That is Dorr. May have came down a bit awkwardly on that foot. A beautiful defensive play, though. A sure touchdown, or at least a first and goal by McNeil.
That is true.
And the trainer comes out early second quarter from Van Brunt. MKA Cougars only 14 points scored last week against Glen Ridge. That's the least amount of points scored since the playoff game of the first round, where they scored 13. As for the regular season, not often you see that little amount of points scored. Last year the fewest was 27 by the Cougars against Glen Ridge at home. Coach out for People's Prep, ushered to the sideline. The official right over the football. As the drizzling rain is beginning to fall a little bit now. The miss. Now he's got a man down there, incomplete. Brent Meistrich over there, double covered.
To be honest,
And a flag on the play.
but there's a flag on the play.
Salmiari and Lassiter are down there, 8 and 2. And the Cougars will gain 15 yards and a first down. Maestrich was falling to the ground, and the officials ruling that is the fault of People's Prep. The pass interference call, and it will be the official moving the ball up. Perhaps, oh, let's see, 10 yards. Moving it from the 33 to the 23, so 10 yards gained. The officials communicating to the chain game. Right now it's a 2nd and 1. They had to move the 10-yard stick back because the first down was apparently not gained on the play. And the wind picking up a little bit. Not a very pleasant day for football. The official timeout comes to an end. It's 2nd and short. They moved the line of scrimmage up to the 23. Needing about 2 feet to pick it up. Got a block. First down, McNeil. McNeil getting across the field. Giannis throwing across his body, rolling to the near side. And it's McCarter McNeil who picks up a 1st and goal. 15 yards, they spot it down at the 9, 14 yards. And now McNeil shaking up a bit on the play. His helmet is off on the sideline. Able to get off the field, and the Cougars have 1st and goal. Threatening again. Giannis to the outside, he is mobile, and he could have thrown that ball, but he opted not to. He'll took it all the way. He'll go down at the 10 for a 2-yard loss. Able to simply string him out on the far side. 2nd and goal. Second and goal. Giannis set up a screen. A very rare screen for the Cougars, and just Walker. They only ran the screen.
The Cougars down to the 3-yard line.
They really don't run it much, and that was something that we weren't really expecting to see. The Cougars running a screen to Walker. The Cougars like those bubble routes instead of a true screen where all the linebackers or the linemen come out to help the running back block down the field. Gain 7, 3rd and 3, 3rd and goal. As they do on the goal line so frequently, Walker the up back for Trey Wilson. It is Walker, did not get it. And now will the Cougars try their first field goal in a long, long time as they have it at the 1.5. They're going hurry up. Immediately set at the line. Official puts the ball down. 1.5 yards out on 4th and goal. Got it away, and there was a miscommunication, and People's Prep just stopped. Half the Cougar line didn't even move. They just looked up and didn't even move when the ball was snapped. And a false start. That'll move them back to the 6.5, and a field goal from here would be about 24 yards. 4th and 7. Field goal not out of the question, but they'll go for it again. Perhaps trying out a 4th and goal play. Walker the back. Need the goal line. Got a block from Walker. Giannis wants incomplete, intercepted in the end zone. Picked off by Coleman. And that will be down in the end zone, so they don't get the ball at the 1, they get it at the 20-yard line. That ball picked, went off a hand and was picked, and the Cougars turned the ball over. Giannis Dos' second career interception. Left in half number 1. First and 10. Mendelson, Bromley, and Bond, the starting 3 on the line. Incomplete, dropped twice.
Incomplete pass for the Wolfpack brings
Off the hands of Feldman and later Coleman. That'll make it 2nd and 10. Look at the MKA schedule. Here we are at People's Prep. Next week, back home for Fieldson, the second of 2 games in this homestand. And then they travel to Pennington, followed by Mo Beard, and then back home for homecoming and senior day. Amos again, over the 25 and bumping heads with Romeo after the play down at the 26. Short of the first down by 4. At the 6.5 mark, first half. This game has not really gone quickly. And this time the Wolfpack with the clock stopped going in their full huddle. 3rd and 4.
Defense! Coming to you.
D! Keep your eyes open!
Single back. Brightweiser there, and it's going to be 4th down. The run came to the inside for Lassiter, and looks like Bromley was tangled up on the bottom of that pile. He'll be down. This is exactly what the Cougars did not want. Not really a challenging game. Just have to avoid getting injured. These seniors expected to not play for most of the second half if they can get out to the start they want. And right now we've seen guys like McNeil and now Bromley down. We'll take a timeout. Live here in Van Brunt, the first of back-to-back home games, back-to-back weeks at home. Showed you the schedule a moment ago. Fieldson next week at home. Got to take care of business here. There it is. There is
Brian Bond with the sack. Brings up 2nd down and long.
I'd call it a breakthrough sack. No salute from Bonds. But now earns at least 2 sacks. He'll get at least half. And now Jordan Andrews comes in at nose guard. They do not have Herbs in there. He plays the end and Jordan playing the middle, replacing Bromley. And now they'll have to figure out what goes on the offensive line. Ashwin Law might have to come in, perhaps Adam Herbs, replacing Bromley's spot at left guard. Second and 16. 6-yard sack. 3-man again. Incomplete. Somiari dropped that one, number 8. Those drop passes are going to be a problem. If this persists, and it already has, so many missed chances, missed first downs. Wouldn't have gained much there. Maybe 4 or 5 yards now with 3rd and 16. Cougars wearing pink for breast cancer here in October, as they always do. Of course, the soccer team is wearing pink jerseys. Incomplete. Just floated it up there. And nothing doing. Cougar cornerbacks right there. 4th and 16. Final 5 minutes of the first half.
Trey Wilson back to return.
This will be our chance to see what the Cougars have done on the offensive line. Felix Stowe will kick. They'll get a new ball in. Hence the slight delay, and Wilson standing back just ahead of the midfield stripe. Only 25 yards back in the line, Wilson playing. Good estimate. 27-yard punt. Wilson cut back to where he was standing, only 4 yards. Had he not broken that tackle of Lassiter, he would have been perhaps gone.
At the 48-yard line.
Cougars will take the 48 of People's Prep when we come back. Hard to believe only 2 scores. 12-0. 4:43 left. Giannis got a man there. Intercepted. It's Lassiter down the far sideline. Got a convoy. Giannis down there. Can't get him, and Mendelson makes the tackle.
Demetrius Lassiter with the interception returns it all the way down.
Demetrius Lassiter with the interception, but a flag on the play at the 20-yard line. Flag thrown on the run back. So it'll likely affect field position for People's Prep. Demetrius Lassiter intercepting Giannis, who has been picked off twice tonight. Flag is still at the 18-yard line. Official going over there to pick it up. Block in the back on the Wolfpack. It'll back him up 10 on the run back to the 28. So Giannis picked off, and the best chance they'll have to score. First down they've had so far. To the 25, Trey Wilson on the hit. Wilson coming in has 15 tackles, 12 of them solo. 3 assisted, and last week had 9 tackles, all of them solo hits. They'll get a lot of one-on-one situations coming up from safety. 3 yards, 2nd and 7. Again to the outside, and not much there. They'll string him out, and Ryu Mondes here the hit.
Let's go, defense!
Ryu, prior to this, speaking of solo tackles, did not have a single solo tackle, only 8 assisted in the last 3.5. 3rd and 7. Brown, the quarterback, has not thrown much recently. He'll split out only one. This is Brown. Meister's covering. He was bumped on the play, and a flag for offensive pass interference. Giannis was either shouldered or elbowed down. By Felden, and now they can choose to either lose the down on the incompletion or back up 10 yards. Would be a 3rd and 7.
Stay strong, one. Here we go, Cougars.
Still no official signal, and they're moving the ball up. The call was on Maestrich. The crowd reaction is mine exactly. Maestrich bumped down by the receiver Felden, and they give the Cougars a first down, or the Wolfpack a first down. And that's Lassiter, who will get near the 10, mark it at the 12. On the scoreboard, the ball is, says the ball is on the 24. Even they thought it was a penalty. Cougars slow to get up, that is Andrews. Giving a thumbs up signal as Mendelson to the sideline.
Let's go, defense!
2.5 to go. Now the problem with being up only 12-0 is that you can't really feel safe putting in your JV for most of the second half. They could shave into that lead now. 2nd and 10. Amos, McNeil, got it. Junior and sophomore combining. McNeil and Brightweiser, and it's 3rd down. This is turning into much more of a competitive game than most, if not all, of the Cougar team had predicted. Back to a 3rd and 14.
Stay strong, White.
Line to gain up at the 5. Felden. Fourth down.
Felden picks up 3 for
4th and 11.
bringing up 4th down.
Back near that 10-yard stick. Last minute 15. Cougars likely will kneel the ball unless they get very good field position for whatever reason, and now the official did not stop play. He is allowing, and now we'll back off the football, and it'll be 4th down. And they will go 4th and about 11. Brown the quarterback, Lassiter the running back. To throw it. Pick it on Maestrich, and he picked it off! Career interception #1 for Quinn. Keep that ball.
Quinn Maestrich with the interception for the Cougars.
Almost a season and a half gone by, and Quinn has picked #1 in his career.
34 seconds remaining in the half.
And the Cougars will likely kneel on it with 34 to go. Something positive to look for, to look towards, as the Cougars will likely go into the locker room. 34 to go. 1st and 10. Giannis will give to Walker. Just gonna hope he turns off a big one. He's got 11 yards and will stop the clock.
Harrison Walker picks up 11 yards for the Cougars.
The Cougars will call timeout. An offensive timeout, so they might want to take their chances at the 32 with 26 showing on the clock. Cougars are making things interesting here. 26 seconds to go, and the victory formation, as we saw last week in this situation, is not to be seen. Wilson will motion back. Keep it empty. He'll bubble out. Giannis has Romeo. Line drive. 35. Down at the 35-yard line. The clock will stop. The Cougars have immediately called time. Somewhat risky going for this, but back-to-back first downs. This one a big one to Romeo, and another timeout with 16 to go in the half. $16 seconds to go. They did not use the full minute that they're given for a timeout. They're almost immediately on the field, using it just to stop the clock. Cougar tying his shoe is McNeil on the far side. The officials will let him do that. 16 seconds to go, 36-yard line. Walker in the block, Giannis the roll, dropped by Wilson at the 25. Would have been a third consecutive first down.
Brings up second down for the Cougars.
Instead, not there for Wilson, and now 10 seconds to go. This situation looking very, very familiar. Might be time for just a chuck down the field. Going four wide, spread him out with Walker back in, likely to block. On the 37. Pressure got to him, threw it away, and is there a flag for intentional grounding? No. No flag on the field. Romeo was the nearest man, about 7 or 8 yards down the field, and that ball incomplete with 1 snap remaining, 5 seconds in the first half. Set to wrap up our first half for Van Brunt. Live here on MKA TV. So glad you've joined us. If you're not here in the rain, you're sitting back, hot fire, watching this game. One play. That's got it. Drop the touchdown. Time has run out in the first half. He missed it back shot. Couple of feet. By the Wolfpack, and the Cougars nearly had another last-second touchdown. And so we have hit the halftime mark from Van Brunt. 12-0, the final score, or the halftime score. The Cougars looking for their 16th consecutive regular season varsity victory. basketball on MKA TV. Our second half set to begin. The MKA Cougars 12-0 leading People's Prep, a extended break. Took about 20 minutes before the teams were ready to go, but they are now. Quasier lead a kick, number 19. Trey Wilson is back at his own 12. Kicking from the 40. And now they kick. Fielded, bobbled, and Romeo actually gained 8 yards on the return, just bobbling the football and pouncing on it at the 39.
Dominic Romeo kick. Cougars take over.
Vin gets to the backs of receivers. Here they are as the varsity will stay in, up by only 12. Harrison Walker had a good game so far, so was Trey Wilson. Quinn Maestrich, Romeo, and McNeil round out the receiving corps with Ryu Mondes here also in there. The total yardage almost even between rush and pass. Of course, sacks against Giannis. He took 4 last week. Count against the rushing yards. Ready for play. 1st and 10 on the 40. Wilson on the move. Feeding Walker, cutting back on a misdirection over the 45, and they got him up high on the neck. Feldman did that, and it'll be 2nd and 2. And a flag comes in late. They threw the flag in very, very late. And a second flag comes in from the official. Just off the screen, there he is. Could be 2 penalties, and they'll have to choose one. It's 12 men. 12 men were on the field, according to the official. And there was a 15-yard penalty that the official we were focusing on did not rule. Perhaps the tackle up high. Whatever it is, 15 yards, and the penalties have not affected the Cougars here as they did last week. In the past 2 weeks, in fact, 13 penalties, 100 yards against Glen Ridge, and it was no better against Riverdale. Jogging about 20 yards to the line of scrimmage from their huddle. On the 36 of the Wolfpack. Harrison Walker. The big man gets him. Harvey, number 69. My goodness.
2nd down and 9.
If there was an equivalent to Eric Mendelson, you have it in Jamara Carvey, number 69, only a junior. Man in the middle, and Walker got only 1. 2nd and 9. Trey Wilson, misdirection, goes nowhere.
Trey Wilson stopped to the back.
Tutt made the stop. 3rd down. You think about it, only 1 score from People's Prep cuts the lead in half at the very least, depending on the PAT situation. 3rd down, 3rd and 12. To throw, intercepted. A 3rd pick down the sideline. He'll be out by Walker. Lassiter again picks it off. Ben Giannis, a very rough outing with 3 picks.
People's Prep will take over.
He came in only having 3 touchdowns all season passing.
Remaining here in the 3rd quarter.
He has thrown for 3 INTs against the Wolfpack. And they will take over at the 2-minute play mark of the 3rd quarter.
Come on, B, let's go!
Having a lot of trouble getting drives going and especially finishing them. People's Prep. They've been given the field position many times. On the Cougar 33, Deontay Brown, the quarterback. Late in the back. And Bond got him. In there with John Hatfield, the linebacker. Cougars give him a yard, 2nd and 9. Cougars looking to go 4-0 for the 2nd consecutive season. People's Prep has stayed in it, looking for their first ever varsity win as a football team. The school founded a few years back, their first year as a varsity football squad. Deontay Brown, Amos, Maestrich dropped it anyway. He had both feet out.
Brings up 3rd down.
It'll be 3rd and 10. Mentioned the schedule, homecoming day at Hackley, against Hackley on October the 29th, a broadcast you won't want to miss. Trust me on that one, and some history there as the last time Coach Rea lost a regular season game, October 18th, 2014,
Let's go, boys!
went into Terrytown and shut out 24-zip. A result that Rea made sure his players did not forget coming into next year's game. Incomplete. The knee was down, it appeared, and it'll be 4th down as the clock continues to run. 4th and 8. Gain of 2. On the 31, only gaining 2 yards on 3 plays. Again, having trouble working on the drive after their defense gets it done. A recurring theme here.
Come on, Steve, let's go.
Need the 23 to pick it up. 4th and 8. Brown standing in. That's 2 for Bond, and he rips off the helmet.
Ryan Bond with a stop in the backfield.
2 sacks for Brian Bond. That one a full sack, we can guarantee you. Bond now could have his first multiple sack game of the season. And on 4th down, Giannis will take over. Picked off 3 times today. With his team still up 12. Both defenses playing strong. Harrison Walker.
Way to go, Harrison!
Put him at the 43 with that one, 2nd and 5.
Harrison Walker picks up 4 yards for a
Walker
2nd
came
and
in on
6 for the
18
Cougars.
runs with 122 yards and 2 touchdowns. His performance against Glen Ridge dismal put him back to only 6.8 yards per carry. Again, 6 rushes for 10 yards against Glen Ridge.
Come on, let's go!
2nd and 6. Again, Walker to the outside, and he spins down to the 45.
Harrison Walker
Getting
picks
him
up
down
2,
on the
brings
end
up
was
3rd down
Shaquan
to the
Coleman,
Cougars.
11. Not a bad day for him so far. It'll be 3rd down. 3rd and 3. Very short turnover on offense between plays. Going I form now. Walker leading the way for Wilson. Went to Walker last time out of this formation. Do it again. He got nothing. There was Carby, 69, the nose tackle. Outpowered his man, and it's 4th down. Again, the Cougars falling flat. And the punt team comes on with Romeo again. Not a good workout so far, has missed both extra points. He'll be punting this time. 4th and 3, they're punting. Bounces at the 20. John Hatfield is there, would have let it go out at the 19. Getting every last yard out of that football. Middle of the 3rd quarter, 12-0.
Punt goes out of bounds as the Wolfpack will take over at the 19-yard line.
Coach Rea, as we often see in close games like this, not happy.
Talking about.
Just 21 seconds shy of the halfway point, third quarter. Deontay Brown back in the gun with Lassiter. Starting back at the 19. Not the good field position that they're used to. Gave it to Lassiter late. The ball was on the ground, and Lassiter working wide. Maestro strikes him out. Second and 16, courtesy of Quinn Maestro getting the end. Maestrich, who has his first career pick in this game, came in with 9 tackles. Does not get a lot of action to his side. Romeo picks up more stats. They throw to him more. But they've been putting a good share of pressure on Maestrich, good deal of pressure on him.
Let's go, defense!
And he has delivered, second and 10. Although he did commit that quote-unquote pass interference. Back is Brown, dropped again. Feldon dropped another one. Third down.
Incomplete pass intended for Tajamir Feldon.
Third and 16.
Third down and 6.
The Cougars defense continuing their streak of not allowing a passing touchdown this whole season. Only 1 touchdown total has been allowed by the first teamers. That was in the first half against Glen Ridge, a short rushing touchdown. Third and 16. Got a block, Bond got free, the pass is Wilson, the convoy, Mondesir blocking for tries down for first and goal. They'll mark it down to 7. The line of scrimmage was at the 19. And Wilson, a big run back, sets the Cougars up in a position in which they have to score. Cougars had a goal-to-go situation. They went for it on 4th down and they missed it. Instead of kicking a 24 or so yard field goal. If they were to kick the ball right now, it would be from 24. First and goal on the 7. Looks like they'll go I form, and they will. They're starting 5 on the offensive line back in with Bromley. Pitch back, Wilson trying to string him out, and they do. Wilson not really breaking those first tackles as much as we had seen in the first 3 games, so we'll go back to the 10. Riverdale in action at Mobier tonight, or today rather. The game is in progress. Pennington at home tonight, as is Hackley, taking on Fieldson, a Hill School matchup. We play Fieldson next week and Hackley on the 29th. That's McNeil. Nearly a holding on the outside as McNeil cuts back in, and they'll be stopped in the backfield at the 11. Third down. Cougars going backwards, 4 negative yards on 2 plays. Of course, wearing pink, ringing in the month of October. Gave it to Walker, needs 11. Didn't get far, maybe half the yardage back.
6 for the Cougars, bring up 4th and goal.
The Cougars only gained 1 net yard on 3 plays. 4th and 6. Goal to go. And they will go for it. No sign of Romeo. He's to the slot right. He will not be on to kick. 4th and 6. To the outside, incomplete, he bounced it to McNeil. Had Romeo and McNeil. Romeo breaking off his route, McNeil on the inside, and the Cougars again turn it over at their own 6-yard line.
Turnover on downs for MKA as the Wolfpack takes over at the 6-yard line.
3:55 left in the third. The Cougars following up a 14-point performance offensively against Glen Ridge. Only 12 points through almost 3 quarters. Only 1 net yard on that drive in 4 plays in a People's Prep timeout.
Timeout, Wolfpack.
The rain has held off. The Cougars offense yet to be seen in the second half.
Okay, man, take it easy.
See you, friends. See you Tuesday. See ya.
We head to the last 16 minutes of this football game. The last 1/3. Cougars up 12. The outside got a block on the end, and Romeo makes the hit. It'll be first down. Gain of 12 to begin the drive. And the guy whose name is not listed on the roster, number 20, has ripped off a couple of decent runs tonight. Cougars offense only possessed the ball 19 minutes out of 48 against Glen Ridge, and probably even less against Riverdale. Not so tonight, but very even. Nothing again. Running back emerged out of the pile, but after he had been ruled down in the grass, it'll be third down. The Cougars offense only had 3 runs of double digits against Glen Ridge. Those 3 runs totaled 54 yards, but the Cougars ended up with 47 total rushing yards in the game due to 4 sacks against Giannis. Pressure in his face, incomplete. It'll be third and 9.
With an incomplete pass brings up
Threw it towards the middle. The crowd a bit stirred up from something intended for Coleman.
Flag on the play.
That's why. Came in at the end of the play. Check this flag. Timeout has been called. To the last 15 minutes now. The timeout was taken on the board. It says People's Prep has taken 2 in the second half. It's a 3rd and 19. They were backed up 10 on the play. Going 4 wide. To throw. Incomplete. Again, targeting Feldman, and it's 4th down. Bit of arguing going on with Feldman, and looked like the official, but none will come out of it. Make it 4th down.
Trey Wilson
And the senior Doe back to punt. A game of punts, a second half of punts, and that Giannis turnover. Wilson also with the pick. Romeo has one. I think he has 2, actually. Dropped it again, picked it back up. Wilson will let this one go. Right at midfield.
50-yard line as the Cougars take over with 2 minutes and 40 seconds remaining in the 3rd quarter.
Have a look at last week's statistics. Cougars defeating Glenridge 14-10, but the total yards almost even, but it's the rushing yards that really tell the story. Cougars defense allowing 2.7 yards per carry, but their offense only 1.4. Of course, Giannis sacked 4 times for 34 negative yards. But Walker was absent from that game. At least it seemed like it. Giannis with a couple of big runs. Walker had a 20-something yard gain, but that was about it. On the 50. It's Giannis, it's McNeil, and ball looked like it was put on the ground. Will the catch gained a yard, 2nd and 9.
Then Giannis finds Carter McNeil for a gain of 1.
Carter McNeil, who was
2nd and 9 for the Cougars.
Active in this game from the very beginning, just about. Of course, came in with only 2 catches. Played a decent role tonight. It's Walker, got a lane. Goes through for 8 yards. Now they don't give him a favorable spot, give him maybe 5 on the play. It'll be 3rd and about 4. Stopped by Desmond Henry, the senior, 51, and he will go to the sideline, but then come back in. The Cougars snapping it quickly on 3rd and 4. Giannis, 1st down run to the 31.
And Giannis with the quarterback keeper picks up a Cougar 1st down.
Ben getting mobile for the first time in this half. Hasn't done much with his legs this afternoon. 14 rushes for 30 yards last week. He was the Cougars' leading rusher, even with the negative 34 rushing yards for the sacks. Still 30 positive yardage. Pulling out. Giannis going for Wilson down there and knocked up in the air, incomplete. 2 men were there. Dorr and Amos, 7 and 10. Down there is Trey Wilson.
2nd and 10.
Couldn't come up with the grab, and it was tipped by the defensive backs anyway. Tipped and went back his way, but at that point, not much of a chance he could haul it in. Second and 10. Speaking of Glen Ridge, the Bloomfield Avenue rivalry, Glen Ridge came to Cedar Grove last night. Came out losers 33-0. Cedar Grove as Walker gets the 1st down. Very close to it. They will give him the 1st down and stop the clock gain of 10. Cedar Grove now unbeaten. Glen Ridge and Verona both 1 and 3. It appears as if Cedar Grove will win the group title. First and 10, final minute of the 3rd. Packing it in, only 2 wide. Maestrich blocking on the left side for McNeil. Or rather, McNeil on the other side. And it's Walker, who gains 3. Of course, you could say that Glen Ridge's defense is the best they will play in terms of stopping the run all season, which is true. But Fusco's still able to gain 100 yards against them last year to keep his streak alive. But they still were the best he played until playoff time. Giannis kept it. Draw. About time, Ben Giannis. Going right back at it. Breaking through for a 17-yard score, and the Cougars now extend their lead for the first score of the half by either side. Romeo now looking for his first field goal make. First PAT make, offside on the play. Trying to get a jump was Davion Dorr, and again, a flag on the kick block, at least the attempted block on People's Prep. This happened on the last PAT, the second one, which seemed like an eternity ago. A yard closer for Romeo. Just inside the upright.
Point after attempt is good.
And into the Climate's yard. 19-0.
19-0 here in the third quarter with 12 seconds remaining.
MKA with a very, very big score. 19-0 with 12 seconds on the third quarter clock.
While we have a
"12 seconds remain in period 3. MKA goes up 19-0, a very odd score. Romeo with 2 missed PATs, nailed the third one. Giannis a 17-yard touchdown run. Getting People's Prep aligned, and an 11th man is coming on, Shaquan Coleman, number 11. All ready to go. The kick. Bounces fielded at the 7. Cutting back to the inside. Lassiter got around to the 20 and up to the 25 on the return. 18 yards on the run back, but still not great field position as we end the third quarter. We'll switch field, go the other way.
And with that, we have the end of the third quarter.
As the Cougars lead 19-0 with 12 minutes to play.
Leading the Wolfpack up
so we begin the home stretch, 19-0. Feldon. Not much there. Of course, there is a reason for concern.
Feldon, carry for the Wolfpack, gets back to the line of scrimmage, bring up 2nd and 10.
Not really the destruction that some people were anticipating. A stalemate for the first 14 minutes and 48 seconds, or 11 minutes, 48 seconds of the third.
Let's go, defense!
A must-score spot here. Amos to the outside, and again, nothing. Kwamir Amos, the sophomore,
Amos on the run for People's
makes
Prep.
it 3rd
Brings
and
up
9.
3rd and 8.
Call it 3rd and 8. Dropping back. Got a man on the outside, but not much yardage to go from. Feldon again, holding on to this one as Bromley rides him down.
Brings up 4th and 4 for the Wolfpack.
Make it 4th and about 4. And they will punt. We likely will not see the JV in just yet. Only a 19-point game unless Coach Rea wants to get conservative and rest his guys for the final quarter. Seniors not expected, or juniors and seniors, the varsity team not expected to go this far anyway. Wilson will
Punt goes
let that
out of
one
bounds
go
as the Cougars
to the
take over at the
35-yard line.
35-yard line with 9 minutes and 49 seconds remaining in the 4th quarter.
9:49 left to go. It'll be 1st down. And out comes number 11. And by the way, big congratulations to Ben Giannis. Not only is he Steve Tober's coveted athlete of the week on Sideline Chatter, also the Student Athletic Council's spotlight athlete this week. Although for the sake of accurate information, we must add that Giannis is a member of the Student Athletic Council, as is Bach, and they'll most likely get their weeks of recognition, the two. Throwing from was 200 yards last week. That's Romeo. Romeo gains 8. Been a very good transition for Dominic Romeo.
Dominic Romeo picks up
Into a
8 on the
position
1st down carry, bringing
that
up
requires
2nd
him to
and
play
2
both
for the
ways.
Cougars.
Only played 2nd cornerback last year. Still remains there, and now the 2nd leading wideout. Second and 2. That's Giannis, incomplete, nearly picked by Zaire Thompson as Maestrich going for it. Speaking of guys who were thrust into a wide receiver role, Quinn Maestrich really hasn't been able to get going with it. Of course, losing guys like Rob Strain, Derek Kleiman, all those guys, you had to find some new blood to play wide receiver. You had Wilson, McNeil. In fact, no one starting at wide receiver started last year at the position. Wilson the closest to it at special teams as there's Walker.
Harrison Walker with
The
the
first down, 13 more for Walker. Not too shabby, a bounce back game for Walker. To the Wolfpack 44. Cougars hurry it up in the final 9 minutes. Very quick turnover there. Walker, another good block. The throw for Wilson is picked off again. That's Kwamir Amos this time, and Giannis now has 4 INTs.
As they take over at the
At
20-yard
the
line.
8:39 mark of the 4th.
39 seconds remaining in the 4th quarter.
Somehow, a quarterback throwing 4 interceptions and 0 points off those turnovers. So Giannis last week was sacked 4 times. Of course, not really on him as much as the offensive line. But here today has thrown 4 interceptions. Trying that deep chuck for Wilson, and there will certainly be a lot of game film to look over. Not hurting him though, 19-0. Deontay Brown, there's his deep shot on Maestrich again. Hold in. Shaquan Coleman, will they rule it a catch? Did 1 foot get in? No. Incomplete. Inches from a 35-yard reception for Coleman. Going back shoulder on Maestrich, and he played the sideline well. And coming up with it out of bounds with 8:27 to go. Varsity guys still in there. Perhaps JV will get the final series.
Let's go, defense!
2nd and 10. Lassiter in there, number 2. Brown, number 3, as the line gets set. 3-man front, Hatfield creeping up the line. They only send 3. To the outside, and again, missing Coleman on Maestrich.
Pass intended for Shaquan Coleman. 3rd and 10.
Make it 3rd down and 10. Certainly some improvement, of course. The penalties, the Cougars have played a very, very clean game, which was most likely the number 1 concern, or at least right up there. Running game is back. But now with the fixing of one problem comes another. And that's the passing game as they head into Fieldston at home one Saturday from this afternoon. Earlier start. There's the throw. Almost got him, and the pass is incomplete. Adam Herbs was over there. Got a hand up. The pass got away. And Herbs nearly came up with a sack. That one incomplete for Felden, and it's 4th down. Again, punting. Not trying their chances, at least trying out a 4th down play. And they will punt with Felix Doe. Getting an 11th man on late. Not the first time we've seen that. That's Davion Dorr, and now Doe, a good kick. That's his best. At the 48. Wilson outside 40. To the 30, out of bounds to the 24. Ducks out to avoid any injury. Still with a 28-yard run back, untouched on the way there.
7 minutes and 58
With 8
seconds
minutes to
remaining.
go, the Varsity remains out. The Cougars 8 minutes from 4-0 for a 2nd consecutive year. Now we got to talk about Jordan Andrews because he is back in at right tackle. Missed last week's game because of a college visit to Amherst. And he had to watch the game on Greenwich TV, and he said he was pretty excited when we won and was relieved because if we had lost the game, a lot of it would have gone on him because the offensive line was the one matchup and the Cougars had to win.
First down.
And of course that right side, Ashwin Lala to come in, and Mendelson had to anchor the right side instead of him combining with Andrews, and of course the dismal run game can be partially attributed to that. 1st and goal. Wilson to the 5, and only to the 5. Zaire Thompson, 30 yards, and it'll be 2nd down and 5. For Trey
Trey
Wilson.
finds Trey Wilson for a pickup of 5 yards.
Seven minutes to go. Getting a jump. They're offside, I believe. Offside. Half the distance, put it at the 2.5. Defense coming over to the neutral zone, may have made contact. The play was not allowed to begin. Trey Wilson, we mentioned he did not take a hit, wanted to go out of bounds on the kick return. Took a few big ones against Glen Ridge. He is this year's Eric Zug, taking the biggest hits. Playing it safe here in week 4. Walker got it, touchdown.
That's a touchdown, Cougars. Harrison Walker.
2 yards out.
Extending the MKA lead.
Harrison Walker, and the lead grows to 25 rather. The Cougars now finding their groove, although they didn't necessarily have to, but from a morale standpoint, very good to be able to get into it. Now 25-0, and Romeo, 1 for 3, 1 for 4.
And the point after attempt is no
course, the
good.
weather conditions in the field
25-0.
Favorable for a kicker.
6 minutes and 37 seconds remaining in the 4th quarter.
And with 6:37 to go, it'll be People's Prep ball after this. But we can safely say a bullet has been, for the most part, dodged. Just like Fieldston last year, no rain in the forecast. Or rain in the forecast, but no rain delivered. From a broadcaster / filmer standpoint, this is terrific. Not a deep kick to the sideline, 24-yard line. Ryu Mondesir, very, very strong on special teams. Jason Layton on that return for 8 yards. But a flag comes in. Came in on the near side, away from the return. And Michael Hermo looking a bit shaken up, number 55. Against People's Prep on sportsmanlike conduct, that's a 15-yarder. The flag thrown on the near side, the return was up the far sideline. And now Bond will get a rest, so will Bromley. Most of the varsity is still in. I call this the 1.5 team because you got Adam Erbs in there and Jordan Andrews. But the starting corners are there. Brightweiser on the field. Ryu Mondesir, Carter McNeil. Trey Wilson still back at safety. Another official's break with 6:29 to go. They begin at the 18. After the penalty, bobbled the handoff. Got around one. Lassiter bumps his way to the 32. And Romeo is down from that.
First down for the Wolfpack.
Knocked right in the head, which is exactly what they're trying to avoid, and now he's back up. Took a shot right to the helmet on a 14-yarder from Lassiter, and that is the consequence by putting your varsity in there, at least most of them. But we play on. 6:15 on the clock. First down. Another big run for the Wolfpack. Brown out. Has his man Feldon, but Hermo is there all the way with Two of the Cougars' 5 linebackers, that very odd 3-5-3 formation. Only one safety in Wilson. Instead, they stay with their 3 defensive linemen as before and bring in an extra linebacker. Seems to be paying off. Still no passing touchdowns allowed by this defense, only one by the varsity defense. Nearing the 5-minute mark, 2nd and 13. Got it again, Lassiter. Got away from 3 to the 40. Moving up the left side. Not sure if that was played. Reversing the field entirely. Gaining 23. Looked like an off-tackle run to the right side. There was nothing there except 3 Cougars. Took it back the other way, said why not? He gains 23 and a first down. The Cougar 46. 4:40 on the 4th quarter clock. Okay. And our mic went off for a second there. Let's see what's going on. We'll have to continue on as so, with our crowd mic having some issues on that first down run. Lost the ball, Feldon, he'll have to fall on it. Hermo right there to back him up. Lucky to get the fumble back with 4 minutes to go. Four minutes to go. That's Amos. Right there is Hatfield, and pushing a little bit late, both teams. Hatfield is a guy who can get very, very feisty at the end of a whistle. The reason for a couple of penalties or near penalties against Glen Ridge. Third and 17. Last 3 minutes. Straight back. Incomplete, and nearly bringing it in with one hand is Dorr. Of course, you got to play like that defensively, where he almost brought it in with one hand. And instead, it's 4th and long. Opting to go on 4th and 17. As we got our mic back up. Technical changes on the fly. That's what we're all about. 4th and 17. Picked off. Wilson has it again. Block in the back, and that should be a flag. Wilson running out. He knows that's a block in the back on Joe Wilson.
Gives the Cougars the ball. Okay, flag on the flag.
2:36 to go, of course, doesn't mean much, but a careless error on Hatfield. With the Cougars up 25-zip in the final 2:36. And we will see if Giannis will close out the ball game. Haven't seen much of John Sweetwood today.
After the penalty, the
Cougars will be
start
backed
on
up
the
at
21-yard
the
line.
16-yard line. And Giannis will play all 48 minutes, as will Bond and the rest of the crew. Now we don't know what we'll be doing this week in terms of games broadcast. Of course, soccer going on throughout the week. All we know is Fieldston in 1 week. 2:36 on the clock. Giannis will close out a 4-0 season, at least so far, in a 16th consecutive regular season victory at the varsity level. Of course, JV being shut out by Glen Ridge last Monday. They do not have a game this week. Harrison Walker gaining 7. Not necessarily a memorable game, but certainly a game that has had its moments. Close to a first down, Ryu Mond is here, so we are seeing a little bit of JV action, although I wouldn't call Ryu strictly JV. 3rd and 1. To go. This is not the victory formation yet. They can if they want to. Only one timeout for People's Prep, and no need to use it. Perhaps try something out. Run it safely. Walker, first down. 1 minute to go. Timeout has been called by People's Prep. And a Cougar down is that Bond over there. That's Andrews. Nope. No, that is on People's Prep. My bad. With the white pants, you can't really tell. And a man injured for the Wolfpack. Final 58 seconds. Of course, the big takeaway, the Cougar defense, once again, another strong performance. Only 24 points allowed in 4 games. Both teams on one knee, most of the players. Ready to wrap things up at Van Brunt.
Our margins
big one, highlighted in yellow. Marist's senior day at home. And the big one is the footnote. All games are going to be live. At this point, no need to run anything. The clock will run. No timeouts for People's Prep. This is the victory formation. Trey Wilson with his arms crossed. Not for long. They'll let the timer run down as much as possible. With 40 seconds to go. That's it.
And the clock will wind down on this one as the Montclair Kimberly Actors move to 4-0 on the season with a 25-0 victory over the Wolfpack of People's Prep.
Not a very
The Cougars
convincing
return
win
to
against the
NIFL action next Saturday at home against Gilson.
Cougars in the first game, the front end of their two-game homestand. Take it 25-0. Their second shutout in this four-game year. Somehow, some way, not a drop of rain really, just mist. All of that rainproofing for essentially nothing. But you can never be too prepared. 25-0. It is MKA over People's Prep from Van Brunt.